everyone, welcome back to Deliberately Creative. Today's video is all about breaking through creative blocks and finding our inspiration through the wonderful world of watercolors. We'll be using a limited palette suggested by the Color Cube cards from Sarah Renae Clark to create 4 unique abstract postcards. So let's grab our watercolor supplies, take a deep breath, and dive in. Alrighty, so we're using these 2 cards from the Color Cube by Sarah Renae Clark Volume 1 box. These cards have very similar colors to them. They have warm browns, a cool white, and a pop of color. That medium brown is a copper metallic-y color, so I'll probably be using a metallic in here. Actually, I already know. It's going to be gold, but that's okay. The whites are very similar, a little bit darker gray in one, but anyway, you don't have to match the colors perfectly, and you don't have to stick to this palette. It's just a jumping off point. I'm painting on Arteza watercolor paper. It's just the cellulose paper, and buy it in the big tablets. Use what you've got. I taped it off just using some masking tape. Watercolors from Prima Marketing for this. Use what you've got. Don't be tied down to what any person tells you to do. This is your exploration and your turn to play. Remember to breathe and relax. This is a fun time. We're going to just use a round brush. This is a number 12 round from Creative Mark, and I'm putting a lot of water on here. I am going to throw a ton of color on, and it's going to look ugly, and I am going to struggle with the ugliness of it, and not really even, I wasn't even sure that I was going to finish this piece of art. These 4 cards, I didn't know if they were going to be good enough to show to you guys. And then I realized it didn't have to be good enough. It didn't have to be spectacular. It didn't have to be anything. It just was playing. I was playing with the brush. I was seeing how things moved, how the water accepted the paint, how the paper accepted the water, how the brush moved the pigment around. I had so much fun once I realized that I didn't have to make something beautiful. The struggle here is that our heart wants us to make something pretty that people are going to go, ooh, ah, wow, that's great. When really what we need is something that makes us go, ooh, wow, oh, I didn't know the brush could do that if I didn't have so much paint in it. I didn't know something, or I found out something. Remembering that there's no right or wrong in art. It's about expressing yourself and enjoying the process. We're going to fast forward through the painting sessions here. Feel free to pause the video, take your time, experiment with your colors, and let your creativity flow. I keep choosing colors that are from those color cards, and I am letting my brush flow freely on the paper. I am trying to not overthink things. I am trying to just enjoy the sensation of the watercolor spreading across the surface, making patterns with the brush, letting things just happen. And yeah, sometimes you don't know where it's going to end up, and that's okay. And yes, right now, and for the next several minutes, this is going to look like something that you handed the paint box to a 2-year-old. Because when you hand a paint box to a 2-year-old, they're going to dip into all the colors. They're going to smear it all over the paper. They're not going to be worried about what it's going to look like when it's all done. Generally, when you give paints to a little kid, you're just going to end up with either a really muddy brown or a really murky gray. I don't end up with that. Spoiler. And now I grab some of that pinky magenta color, and I'm being brave. I'm just splattering it on. I had splattered some of the blue earlier, but I got these really big, juicy drops of paint. Oh my. Then I decide, okay, I'm going to make some bold moves. I'm going to put some dark color on here. I'm going to not worry about composition. I am throwing things down so that there's going to be just little bits and pieces of this showing through. Let go. Remember to breathe. Remember to stay mindful. You're looking at, how is the paint moving? Is it moving? Is it staying put where you're putting it? Is it flowing around? Is it giving you unexpected things? Oh, I forgot to tell you, I did put this up on a slight angle. I slipped a remote control behind the tablet so that the paint could allow gravity to do something to it too. And remember, walking away and letting things dry will help you. The watercolor fairies come in and start doing things. It's awesome. So I'm going to use black acrylic paint to make some marks on my page. And instead of just freehanding the marks, I'm using a stencil. This is a Crafter's Workshop stencil. It's the TWC454. I'll have the information listed down below in the description box. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to click that like button, especially if you're finding value in it. I really want to know if you want to see more things like this. I'm having a lot of fun, and it really did help me break through a creative block. Letting go with all of the paint, letting go with using a stencil, not being worried about perfect placement of things. I'm just dropping the stencil down and making marks. Yes, my fingers do get dirty. I am using a sponge. I am squishing paint through, and I'm not worried about them being perfect lines either. It's all part of the fun exploration of it. Part of using the tools you have, I love this Signo Uniball white gel pen. It is one of my favorite tools. I'm going to use it. Make patterns, draw little lines. It's kind of like using whiteout in that it brings the white of the paper forward again. It breaks things up. It gives you some variation. It's not all samey. You can see how this is starting to pull together a little bit, though. I am being mindful of where I'm putting these white marks, but I'm not being too persnickety in making these white marks match up or be perfect. And I am experimenting on direction and placement. I'm not tied to a thought here. I'm just letting it do its thing. I love these little hash lines, though. So these little squeezy bottles with the fine needle tip, I've had these since I was doing paint pouring several years ago. And I've never actually written with paint before. Oh my gosh, it is so freeing. I hate my handwriting, but I love this fake script. It just elevated this whole thing. You have to let it dry. You don't want to hit it with a heat tool to dry them. So I do set this over to the side and let it dry before I pull the tape off and cut them apart. So layers upon layers upon layers. Let it dry. Yeah. I'm going to take the tape off and it's going to be like magic. Yes, my camera angle changed. I'm using my phone on this part because I was to the side. And look at this, those crisp white lines framing up each of the individual postcards. It just makes my heart so happy to see this. So what do you think? Did you enjoy the process? Did you have fun on this journey through watercolor to overcome some creative blocks? I hope you enjoyed this positive and relaxing session. If you tried this at home, share your creations with me. Just tag @deliberatelycreative on Facebook or Instagram. Leave me a comment with your experience in the comments below this video. Remember to go out, do something creative, take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. See you soon.